Про ситуацію у зоні АТО.
Now, about situation in the ATO zone. Ministry of Defense of Ukraine spokesman on ATO-related issues, Colonel Andriy Lysenko. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Now the information about the events in the ATO zone and about the course of training in the armed forces of Ukraine and other information. The Lugansk sector yesterday, the day started with 2 artillery shelling delivered by the enemy, and it was simultaneously in 2 positions of Ukrainian forces near Novozvanivka and Troitske. On the whole, the fire was delivered for 25 minutes, and at that they launched 16 shells of 122 mm of caliber. Later, in the morning and in the evening, the enemy violated ceasefire several times in the Popasnyansky region, twice used mortars, and these shellings lasted up to 30 minutes. Also, the occupants opened fire in Stanitsa Luganska and Krymska. On the whole, during the last 24 hours in the Lugansk sector, there were 9 enemy shellings. Donetsk sector. Yesterday, military actions were during first part of the day after sunrise, and the enemy repeatedly used mortars and tanks near Gorlovka, Zaitsevo, Verkhnytorets, and near Avdiivka and Kamenka. And the enemy launched about 140 mines and more than 10 tank projectiles. During the second part of the day, enemy shellings were in the same sector but with lower intensity. Also, the enemy once used mortar fire in Lugansk. And in the Donetsk airport yesterday, it was calm. During the last 24 hours in the Donetsk sector, there were 20 enemy shellings, including 14 with the use of heavy weapons. The Mariupol sector. In Vodyane and Shirokino yesterday, there were 3 mortar shellings delivered by the militants during dark and during light hours, and also there are regular enemy provocations with the use of small arms at each of the positions of Ukrainian forces in the southern area. And in Novotroitsk, the enemy violated ceasefire once. In Mariinsky region, there were no military actions yesterday. On the whole, during the last 24 hours in the Mariupol sector, there were 20 enemy shellings. During the last 24 hours, in the result of the military actions, no Ukrainian serviceman was killed, but 6 servicemen were wounded. These losses were sustained by ATO forces in the course of enemy shellings in Avdiivka and Vodyane of Mariupol sector. One of the wounded is the woman serviceman, and she was heavily wounded. Law enforcers of Ukraine detained a woman who informed the militants about the activity of Ukrainian armed forces in Berezove village of Volnovasky region of Donetsk Oblast. She did this to save her son, who served among the militants. And she was recruited by reconnaissance bodies of Russian occupation forces. It was identified that this woman got information about locations of Ukrainian forces in Mariupol area and provided this information to the militants. Later, the militants delivered precision fire with the use of heavy weapons, and in Chernigivshina, they had the training for reservists, and in the framework of detachments of the armed forces of Ukraine, servicemen were trained how to act in the conditions of radio obstacles created by the enemy and different weather. They used grenades and also different types of weapons, including heavy weapons. And in the Brigade of Tactical Aviation of Armed Forces of Ukraine in Mirgorod, they had firefighting training. According to the scenario of the training, engine of Su-27 caught fire, and also the first action, they stopped the engine, then they evacuated the operator from the cockpit, and then they started to extinguish fire with the use of special equipment. And this improves the professional skills of the servicemen and also improves coordination of the servicemen in the course of fire extinguishing. And also servicemen of Chernigivsky Harrison participated in the project of help, and they 100 officers donated their blood for children, for those children who live in frontline areas and who have difficulty in getting qualified medical help. Thank you. Next briefing will be tomorrow at 12:30.